we ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Very good.
Can we have like a brief round of introductions for all of like us at least?
Okay, hello everyone. I am Tejus. I'll be basically moderating this podcast. So I have just completed my class 12. I've been admitted to Indiana. So this is just a kind of how I wrap my time. So I'm really looking forward to have a great session with you all for the next 40 minutes.
That's good. That's nice, Tejus. What are you studying? What's your major at Indiana?
I have applied for management, but I think I'll explore a bit, and I'm a bit inclined towards economics as well. So I'm thinking of doing a double majors out there.
Good.
So what about you all?
So I'm in sophomore year at St. Xavier's. I'm studying management, bachelor's in management.
Like your sophomore year.
Yeah.
Wow, how American. We follow British education.
Yeah. Sophomore is kind of like American lingo. Didn't realize that. But yeah, Oishi and I, we had a very good time in school. We were in school. We were a year apart in school all throughout, and we had the same eco teacher. We both wanted to study eco. I guess. Whatever.
Are you studying eco?
Pardon? No. So I have a lot of eco lessons, as in like 1/4 of my course is eco, but not really eco. So that's about it.
Yeah. So I graduated in economics last year, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Bro.
I love how all of us have an affinity for economics, but today's topic has nothing to do with economics.
I'm like, no, it does. It does.
Yeah, exactly.
Chance, honestly, like the way Indian schools are, it's more like
Exactly.
either you can do science or then you can do commerce. In commerce, if you can do well, then you can do eco. And then
Exactly. And if in science you do bad, then you can do eco.
yeah, I mean, there's no question of self-awareness or like finding what you want to do. It's pretty much like
But
this.
I have a question, Pavitra. Where did you do
Yeah.
economics? Oh, okay. The Noida one or the one in Calcutta?
Calcutta one.
Yeah. So Oishik is in Christ. You have a good mix.
So I'm due to give my last final exam. The pandemic and everything, so I can't do that. So
When is that? How is that working out for you? When is that?
It's not working out great for me. But yeah, I'm due to those exams. If you look at like all other options that are there, like if you check my assessment, if you take my papers, whatever new papers and all I have, that way I pass very nicely. But Christ wants us to have an exam, so that way I don't know how long I'll take to graduate. But yeah, so I study not an honors but a triple major bachelor's in economics, political science, and sociology. So that's about it.
There's like PPE.
That's like PPE, but not even half as cool as that Oxford gives.
Yeah.
Or Ashoka for that matter.
Oh, Ashoka, I did not know that.
Ashoka has a PPE. Did you know that? Ashoka has a PPE.
Who teaches?
I don't know. Ashoka also has a very weird course, which is called the Great Books course. They teach you about the finest classic books in the world. 1 year.
It's weird, but I think I
Yeah,
know a
it's-
lot into it. Like,
It's great. Like if you have time, money, everything, then you should do it.
yeah, the maximum innovation that like say my college has is like BCom morning and BCom evening. Like that's how far they can go with naming courses. Nothing more than that.
So yeah, that's about me with my introduction. Like yeah.
So I think we should start with the topic right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So before we start, does anyone has any interesting fact they want to share about evolution?
I mean, sure, like the facts will be, I think, the majority of what we talk about. I think in the beginning, what we should do is, and I think I will need everyone's help over here, is try to structure what we mean by evolution and what is the like. It can be very callous for us to call everything evolution, right? Like we can say that your kids are smarter than you, and that's a result of evolution. Not really. Like there's a difference between.
Tough to pinpoint the source, because one of the things I hate about people who know about evolution is like they want to say that evolution is linear, which is not the truth. Like we have all seen the diagram, right? There's an ape, then he becomes less human-like, and ultimately becomes a human. That is a very incorrect diagram. It's a very layman.
That was Darwinism theory, right? About social evolution. So
Yeah, exactly. That is the thing. Darwin never supported that diagram. Darwin, in fact, Darwin even never said that humans came from monkeys. His actual definition was that humans and monkeys have the same ancestor, and his words were misconstrued. So
So the way I look at social Darwinist theory is that the ape, the first of the genes of ape-like creatures are what evolved to become humans, and that's precisely what Darwin also tries to say, is that we did have the tail, but due to certain factors of us understanding higher, like let's say shifting from living from trees to living in caves, made the tail redundant, right? So over the years, the tail disappeared. Now I feel that is amazing logic. I feel that is quite a logic. But today's line, I think that was a very precursor of human evolution. But today's line, I think it's become more multifaceted, and like I don't think we'll lose a finger or we'll lose ears because something like that, or we'll lose a particular physical aspect of us, because I think we've pretty much kept what is intact of us. But I think other things happen, cultural things happen, social things happen. So I think
one of the most interesting things which he said was like if this is the globe, right, and humans or many species, they spread out. So the humans which were in, like the humans in Russia, they will actually evolve way differently in the future than the humans maybe in Latin America.
Yes.
So it's not just a biological growth, it's also a very geopolitical growth.
Obviously, and like so what Oishi was trying to say without realizing, I mean, like a lot of what determines the laws of natural selection, or this whole evolutionist theory that was postulated not just by Darwin but in general, it's at this point is just generally accepted literature. We cannot imagine losing fingers or legs because we have use for it right now, and that's the difference between evolution and development. In our own lifespan, even in a vastly visible lifespan, like even in over 2,000 years, you will not be able to see very distinguishing changes between any animals or any species, because that's very little for any evolutionary change to take place. So like when Oishi explained how the physical attributes of humans are less likely to change, but the social attributes are changing every single day. Like now we are more like Zoom creatures than we were talking creatures, say 10 years ago. And while all of these are changing, over time these add up to demand certain other things from, like, so your cerebral capacity or your physical capacity. And over a period of 100,000 years, 200,000 years, only then does that change take place.
I think the human brain is computing much more numbers than it ever was today. Like we're computing numbers, anything and everything.
One of the most interesting things is that evolution is not just structural, right? So even if we see that there has been a decrease in volume of the human brain, it is way more efficient, and it's actually very similar to how computers are developed. So the supercomputer, which was like 25 years ago, it is way more power hungry than the smartphones we are using right now. But the smartphones are smaller, way more faster, and they consume less power. So it has been diagnosed that our brains, although they'll get smaller, they'll be way more efficient in the future. In fact, elephants have more neurons than humans, but how their brains develop is that their neurons are evolving to do elephant things, whereas our neurons will always be developed for innovation and not just hunting or food gathering.
I mean, like hunting and food gathering was innovation back then. So like,
exactly.
So from a massive case of like intellectual bias when we talk about how we are the more intelligent species and the others are not. I mean, this consciousness barrier is what separates. While we can easily conclude that we are.
Another thing that is important for us to like what Ruchir was saying, right? That like it's the past concept of evolution, invention, and everything, right? I think evolution has two sides of what it is actually. It's what drives the evolution. It's what is pushing the evolution from behind, or like us from behind, and where we're reaching with that evolution. Like with technology, we've actually gone so far ahead that a lot of it is impacting our social life. Today, money and communication is so easily available to a lot of people, and the kind of exchange, the cross-cultural exchange that is happening is far more than anything. Like I think I myself studying in one of the universities, like one of the better universities of like universities of India, and I have so many international students studying with me. I have so many exchange students coming in over here. We have so many exchange programs. Like I don't know if you all have noticed, but suddenly in the past 3 to 4 years, the exchange program thing has become a huge thing. Like I don't know where it came from, when it started. I don't know the history, but it became a huge thing. And I think one of the reasons of it happening is because of the kind of communication, the rapid communication that has happened between, the different worlds, the West world and the East world, or the upper hemisphere and the lower hemisphere, or the blacks and the whites, or the Indians and the Chinese, or the, well, like so on and so forth. I think even back in school, our student exchange program only began in, I think, 2012, Ruchir, if I'm not wrong. And
I don't have an idea about it.
Yeah.
But why is this related to evolution? That is communication between different castes and races. It's like saying a black cobra met a red king cobra and they talk.
What he's trying to say,
It's like how we are developing from time to time. For some people, evolution is like a time when we were throwing pebbles and now we are throwing bombs. So it's all of a culture, it's all of a trend, it's all of a human behavior that is evaluated.
Take for example the feminist movement. Now the feminist movement has been divided into 3 waves, okay, which is the first wave, second wave, and third wave. The first wave began in the early 1900s, in the 1920s, right? That is when the suffrage movement amongst the white women in the United States began. The overlapping of the change over the years to the third wave which was like what, in the 70s and through now, is different because of the evolution that has happened. Feminism has now evolved into intersectional feminism. Now we're looking at these aspects as whether you were a Dalit woman or a black woman and how you're studying these. So I think that in itself has evolved. Back then, back then you were not looking at things so drastic and so rapid. You get my point? Technology.
Yeah, but, so wait, are we talking about evolution in terms of species evolving into different species, or are we just talking about like, okay, this movement has happened and this sex or this race is going in this direction?
I mean, I'm talking
we have
about
to understand why these are different. We are to even talk about
in general.
one and not the other. Like, if we are to talk about one and not the other, we have to understand what is evolution. And I think what will serve us better in the later half of the discussion also is to like give a good distinction between what is evolution and what is not evolution. Like, I'll try myself. Okay, so the scope of evolution, the myopic vision with which we are looking at it right now, is that we have to shift from using evolution as a grammatical instrument, because we can call everything evolution. Like I'm using a laptop, it's becoming thinner and thinner. It's the evolution of laptops. But that's not like the subject matter of what we are trying to talk about right now. So we have to stop talking about evolution as a grammatical imperative and move into evolution from a more on a larger time scale rather than anything else. So to give you cannot have a straight-jacketed definition, like a watertight definition, but I think this is the most all-encompassing I can get, at least with my definition. I think it's the accumulation of the relatively short-term changes in terms of, so right now in our life, what are the 3-4 elements that you can look at life as? We have economy, we have a social life, and we have like sustenance, which is what we need to live, the 6-7 basic human needs that we have. The subject matter of evolution deals with how humans change the way we deal with the 6-7 basic human needs. So if we have human needs, we have a need for certainty, we have a need for variety, we have a need for contribution, we have a need for growth, love and relationships. These were the same exact human needs 400,000 years back also. Except back then there was a different way of fulfilling all of these. Back then security meant that you have an army of 100 apes and you have acquired a piece of land on which you can conduct argument. Like now security means being a millionaire or having like a very good diversified portfolio, or like having wealth. The whole subject matter of evolution, I think, is to, and even if we don't talk about humans, right? Like even if we talk about whales or sharks, it's the understanding of how the cerebral requirements have not changed over the years. It's just that how they manifest in society and how those things are being taken care of right now have changed. So that is evolution. And we should refrain from talking about, say, relatively short-term changes, which are extremely important. Say, for example, what Oishi was mentioning with regard to Me Too and with regard to all of these social movements in general, they define the reality that we live in today. And they are going to define what and how social media shapes us later on also, except it is too small a time scale for us to be cognizant of what evolutionary imperative it will lead to.
Yeah.
So, if you all have any alternate thing to add to what our understanding of evolution.
I don't have an alternate thing to add, but I want to add to Ruchir's point, which is insane, because I love it, because he's right. Natural selection has changed over time, because initially when we used to look for partners, he's right, we used to look for nutrition, security, survival, right? And now the definitions have changed, for at least for us, about security, nutrition and survival. So now even though we are not looking for bulky partners, right, in terms of their physical build, we are looking for financial stability or even empathy for that matter. So that is a great thing, and it is even more interesting to think how will that requirement change in the next million years.
Almost all of these books talk about a future. They go deep into history. For example, like in fact, like I was reading *Sapiens* a week back, and it's just like a matter of coincidence where like I was asked if I want to be a part of this, and one of the topics were quirks of evolution. Historians could get notorious, like we'll go to Mars in 2 years, but we don't have proper video call, we don't have proper Bluetooth connection still.
So you're talking about a lack in evolution.
You can never have like requirements or like goals of evolution anyway. So like talking about a lack thereof, it's kind of,
No, of course.
It would be nice to,
and then you'll go back and see where you lacked. But you can just go back and see where you lacked for so many years.
Yeah, but that also, like, what context?
Okay. Just a topic I'm trying to talk about. Do you feel that the world opting to a capitalist society rather than a communist society was a failure of evolution?
I think the scope of evolution is much more, as in like the effect of the world adopting a capitalist or socialist is too insignificant to have any measurable effect on evolution in general.
Why do you think that? We fought an entire Cold War, so many proxy wars just because of two ideologies. And ideologies have played a great role in how evolution takes place, right?
Today, you should also understand the fact that evolution takes millions of years to happen, right? Like even we are not, it takes a lot of time to happen, and all these capitalism, communism, world war, industrial revolution, they are very minuscule if we take the time span, right? Evolution has been
they're not minuscule. Like
in terms of your biological DNA reframing.
evolution does not always have to be biological DNA reframing. I agree with a lot of what Oishi said, and I disagree with a bit of it also. I'll tell you what. So like, even when we study about evolution with respect to sapiens, like, how can you say that agricultural revolution was not significant? It had massive changes in the delta between what a capitalist society would have created out of a human race and what a socialist society would have created out of a human race 100,000 years from now will be huge. And like, it's a DNA change.
Evolution or is it evolution?
1 minute. Can I just So rather than looking at, the way you're saying that evolution, we have to look at it at a million years time and all, which is frankly impossible for us to do. And whatever we have is in that book Ruchir was reading a week ago, and like million other books, and like I think more or less the historians and the anthropologists have gone and done it. What I am talking about is the process of evolution, right? Because irrespective of what happens, what evolution is in these million years, you're still going to your world wars, your ideologies, your nuclear bombings, and everything is still going to be a part of it. And it is still like the evolution of a phone getting off the wire and coming into your hands is still a big impact on that million years of evolution that you're talking about, right? So looking at those from a microscopic view, from a micro study view, I think that's fair enough when you're talking about evolution. I think it's pretty fair for us to do that. Don't you think that?
I think there's
Tejus.
I think there's a disparity between you people thinking evolution as a evaluation of thinking or as time. I think we should discuss evolution as a whole, which impacts anything that actually impacts us is evolution. So I don't think there is a mistake when we are talking about something as capitalism and socialism, which will impact us in the years to come or which has impacted us so long. So I think it's a very fair point talking about it.
Yeah.
Like look at, like, for example, okay, I know like there are debates about communism, and I'm not a commie. Let me assure you, I'm not a commie. But if look at the world in terms of how a communist society would have run, what are the alternatives? Where would the world be? We would not have an Apple. We would not have a KFC. We would not have a McDonald's. We would not have an Elon Musk. We would probably not end up getting where we are. We might be in a better place. We might be a better place. I'm not saying we'll be in a worse place or like where everyone will die hungry, like Ronald Reagan says, or used to say. That man's dead, thank God. But yeah, it would have impacted human lives. What happened in Vietnam, what happened in Japan, what happened in Koreas, in both the Koreas, would not have happened if the world took up communism. If you think that the spread of communism would happen across the Soviet space, would have led to Korean spaces, would have led to Japan, the whole of what we know as the tigers, the Asian tigers. If communism spread there, the Asian tigers would have been so much different. And it did happen. We did see spots of it happening in Vietnam. So looking at how like your Malaysia and your Singapore trip or your Thailand trips would have not been the way it is today, or like the way you perceive these cultures would have been so much different, because in a socialist society, you are literally sharing so much with the person next to you, or even 10,000 miles apart from you. So in that terms, I'm talking about how the ideologies also are such a strong aspect of evolution.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to look at it. So, and I think we're getting closer to like all of us understanding what. So initially, also when I explained, or at least like did my best attempt to put forward what I think of evolution, it did not mean that like you have to see a biological evidence of some social cultural change. Like that's not the limitation, obviously, because in your lifespan you're never going to see that. Like you just don't live long enough to see a biological change. So I think anything that is epoch making, in the sense that like I think discovery of internet opens just another alternate reality for the human race, and I think that's
And I was
extremely
saying the phone coming off the wire
capitalism.
in your hands.
Exactly. So capitalism also, I mean, even if we don't look at the wars, and it's difficult to establish a causality, right? Like with Oishi also, he's saying like he cannot be too sure about whether socialism would be just as good, but because he does not have evidence, he can't say shit. Like the whole thing with capitalism in general is it's transformed the world into this socio-economic ladder which you're supposed to climb.
And the socio-economic ladder is big, is impacting so many lives. Like, Ruchir, I'm so sorry for
it's
cutting.
a part of your life. I mean,
yeah,
it's one of the human needs earlier.
A part of a part of such an important part of your life, because if you're looking at socio-economic cultures, these also like the kind of capitalist ideology that came was from the white, right? And yeah, it came from the white society. People in Africa, people in Asia took it out late, right? They adhered to capitalism very late, right? Thus giving rise to a pool of marginalized minorities within different spaces and pockets in the entire world, right? Even in India, I like take for example Dalit. Though the whole thing is different because it's a religious aspect and like religion was misinterpreted. But yeah, we can also debate on how religion has helped us evolve or not helped us evolve. But yeah, like coming back to that, right? When you are in a capitalist society, predominantly a capitalist and like a mix of this democracy that we see, you are also giving rise to a lot of abuse and oppression of a lot of minorities, which is also again going into circles and changing the kind of socio-economic development that everyone has, right? We still are in a world, or we still are in a nation where the Dalit is beaten up, or where someone from the lower income groups cannot and does not have proper access to healthcare or education. And these are all aspects of our evolution as such. Because where are we looking as like we're looking at like mankind's evolution, right? When we're talking about mankind, we're talking about the whole human race. So which part
I do agree on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do agree like on a lot of levels, but I also do think you're going a little too microscopic. I'll tell you why. So the thing with incorporating or accommodating Dalits and different marginalized economic classes within our evolution discussion, it does not qualify as an evolutionary distinction primarily because what made us go from monkeys to humans is a very vast distinction, and regardless of how marginalized like a particular class might be, that kind of a delta will never be created just by virtue of like an unfair socioeconomic system. Not saying that that kind of delta has to remain for you to call it evolution, but in general, by and large, regardless of how unfair like our social structures might be, Dalits will not be any different from like the general rich white American kid from an evolutionary standpoint. Like they will have the same needs, they will have the same emotion.
Grass. It's because when our nutrition changed, that's when our feet, because we used to use all four of our limbs to walk. So something as minute as a grass or that planetary move can be constituted as an evolutionary change. Because even if you can, and seriously, all the Dalits and the disparity between the white and any other race has a huge impact. But that has a huge impact on your life, my life, not humans as in general, right? Because there used to be backward classes before also.
Correct.
That's what
I think we also are getting, because this topic allows us the creative liberty to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about in the whole world. Let's like structure our own.
What do you think in our lifetime, that is from roughly 1998 to now, has been that one instance where you think has created a tangent on evolution?
Internet.
Our lifetime, 1998.
I mean, internet was not there until I was born. Like not in pardon.
When was
What?
the World Web? When was the World Web there? World Wide Web.
I think bionic implants, because that is what we are projected that our future might be, that we might merge with technology, right? And we are actually already started to do that. Like most people who are disabled, they have hearing aids, or people with heart problems, they already have devices. Right now, we are using technology to assist the disabled, but in future, they might be able to enhance our senses. So I think bionic implants been a huge impact if we are considering how evolution will be.
Our definition of anything, and I think Oishi asked a very important question, which right now I think all three of us have to answer. If we are to call anything as evolutionarily impactful, that is, say, if I am saying that internet had an evolutionary impact, for it to classify something that had an evolutionary impact, can we say confidently that 2000 years from now, the average human will not be able to imagine life without an internet, or like, as in, it's too premature for even cannot imagine life. Exactly, that's exactly what I was talking about. The only way we can talk about, say, quirks in evolution, or talk about everything we know so far and make sense out of this 1 hour discussion, is to discuss what do we know right now in the world which can open an alternate reality for us 1,000, 2,000 years down the line that we really can get wild with, like in terms of discussing. And that can be a very big evolutionary footprint, instead of talking like something that lasts for 5 years, 10 years. Like,
no, I think that way what Pavitra mentioned about bionic implants, that is basically the beginning of mechanical engineering and hardware engineering within the human body. I think that's I think the baby steps to Iron Man. I still don't know what the exact technology was that Stephen Hawking used to use.
Okay, so Stephen Hawking, it's called so Stephen Hawking, what most people think is that he used like a brain-computer interface, a computer which read what he was thinking. And
the most dominant technology of the Stephen Hawking's computerized wheelchair was not the speech enabler, it was predictive text. So when we type hi, how are, so the machine could guess you very fast. So that is what was the dominant technology of Stephen Hawking's wheelchair, and that's from where predictive text and our phone messaging came from.
Yeah, that's true. But like, so a lot of the speeches that we see Stephen Hawking make on stage, all of them are pre-recorded. He cannot speak that fast. Yeah. The computer could throw 15 words per minute, which is very slow, because Stephen Hawking could type a lot of times. But more about that, as in like everything that at least Elon Musk puts his hands on has an evolutionary impact. We can make Elon Musk can read like.
Let's talk about that, man. I mean, I think we should talk about that, man. Yeah. Apart from Tesla and the new car, don't talk about the new car. But I think we should talk about Hyperloop. I think we should talk about PayPal. I think these two things.
Sure, let's talk. Let's go Elon Musk. I think the coolest one to me, at least, is Elon Musk very strongly believes that there is no way, because we are developing artificial intelligence at a much faster rate than we are taking care of its security protocols. That is, there will, within the next 10, 20 years, there will soon be an artificial super intelligence that's much smarter than any other human alive. And while you can always talk about how it will not go in the wrong hands or whatever, the only way to keep up or even like leverage that technology to make human race smarter is to make a brain to computer interface. So that's what Neuralink is trying to do. Neuralink is trying to connect sensory impulses which our brain uses. Right now it's like in an extremely elementary stage. That is, it can recognize major emotions, it can recognize popular words, it can recognize certain kinds of conscious states. But 10 years down the line, the whole idea is it can recognize every single neural impulse, and using that we can be at par, or at least leverage an artificial super intelligence. That is, say tomorrow, like right now, we have a Siri or a Google which uses a cloud and transfers data depending on our command. Tomorrow we might have like an internet implant in our mind, and all of that might be connected to like a digital super intelligence, which is kind of like a cloud, which gives us any sort of information without even having to input anything. Like the alternative typing and asking for information would just be thinking about it.
Yeah, so what Ruchir says is actually a very good point, and there is a reason why Elon Musk has raised so many concerns about AI. The problem with AI is not the technological development. You can make as sophisticated as a device and that won't be an issue. When you are classifying something as intelligent, it's less about reservoir of knowledge and more about its decision-making capability. So we are actually, our DNA is 99.7% similar to that of human Neanderthals. That 0.3% is where all the intelligence of Homo sapiens were based. And that's how we almost drove Neanderthals to extinction. So imagine an AI which could be exponentially smarter than us and be able to make their own decisions. That would lead to a mass extinction if the AI decides to. So I think Elon Musk, the Neuralink technology is trying to bridge that gap instead of distinction it.
Yeah, that's
Not trying to bridge that gap really. It's more like if Apple makes the computer that, say if Siri gets 100 times smarter than humans, how can you not let Siri continue to be smarter than you by making Siri seamlessly integrated with your own brain? So tomorrow if I have an interface that allows me to communicate with Siri all the time, the best super intelligence technology will then work at my beck and call. So then regardless of how smart or how good AI technology or sophisticated AI technology gets, we can use it at our beck and call.
Yeah, but then that is not AI. That is not AI. Then that is just a very sophisticated technology. The moment it becomes AI,
I think that's Pavitra. I think that's what his point is. AI is there to counter AI. Elon Musk is there.
Yeah, but that is bridging the gap, right? The only gap between an intelligence security, which is capable of functioning of itself,
I don't think that I don't think Elon Musk will be like, okay, let's bridge gaps. You come to the UN, I'll also talk to them. I'll also be there. We'll hold a peace meeting. Nothing like that. It's just controlling.
So when you talk about Neuralink, how do you distinguish Neuralink from a human mind biologically cooperating with a technology and then being able to function?
So I'll give you a simple analogy. Okay.
I think
so. Right now you have Alexa, right? What is the first input method that was ever invented? The first input method was
my Alexa just.
Yeah, it's pretty good at recognizing Alexa. But in general, like the first input method that was invented, it was invented by Steve Jobs. It's a mouse. So you click on things and it gives data.
Steve Jobs invented the mouse actually.
Like a keyboard.
That's the thing. If you Google right now, Steve Jobs never invented the mouse.
I mean, he stole it from somewhere. He bought it to the masses. The point does not matter. As in, then we have the keyboard, we had touch. Now we have voice. The next input method is what Elon Musk is developing, which is Neuralink, a brain-computer interface. How that is different from bridging the gap between AI is, it's not trying to make humans any smarter. If it was bridging the gap, it would try to make humans smarter. It's not trying to make humans smarter. It's just trying to make humans be able to control AI second to second. The only way to do that is to have a faster interface.
That's exactly what I mean, but I think there's a language disparity between you.
Sure.
Same thing, yeah.
Let's go next Elon Musk topic. I mean, let's go Martian.
Yeah, no, not Martian. 1 minute. I want to talk about what do you think about how people's life has been affected by something like PayPal?
Okay, so this is the last topic we are discussing because it's gonna cross 1 hour. So it's the last topic that will be going through.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Okay.
Been an hour. Wow.
Oh, no, it's not been an hour. It's been some 40, 50 minutes. Yeah, okay, fine.
Should we discuss the Mars colonization? Because that is the future, right? We become an intergalactic.
I didn't know there is.
Okay, fine. So just to conclude it, if should we talk about Mars and our destination?
Yeah.
It was a joke, guys.
Oh, fine. I thought we were going to talk about planets again.
Yeah. So I think since we just have like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let's all. I think the only exciting thing that we will have done in the past 1 hour is if all of us can take 5 minutes to paint a picture of how we will see the world being 100 years from now. Like a lot of what I used to watch on Doraemon is like suddenly going to be true in the 22nd century, as wild as that sounds. But yeah, that's happening. So in general, I think, and I'll have a very strong bias in terms of how my worldview, because a lot of it is affected by how the ventures of Elon Musk specifically. But say transportation will not be an ordeal anymore. Like there will be interplanetary transportation, there will be intergeography transportation, almost free of cost. There will be vehicles roaming around, completely autonomous. You would not imagine what drivers are or anything like that. I mean, it would be like walking. You can walk autonomously just like that. You can like travel to any part of the world autonomously. There would be absolutely no problem in terms of connectivity or data transfer. That is this concept that we constantly struggle with of perfect knowledge. That is, do I have perfect knowledge about financial markets? Do I have perfect knowledge about e-commerce? Do I have perfect knowledge about this? I think we'll get very close to what we can call perfect knowledge. That's a very exciting place to be, because once we augment AI in our minds, acquiring knowledge is almost like downloading a software. So if we have to learn a skill, say we have to learn how to code, if we develop a computer to human interface, a lot of what we saw on, I don't know if you all have seen The Matrix, it's like, if I want to learn Kung Fu, I download a Kung Fu software package or whatever that is. And if I have a brain-computer interface, that can trigger the neural connections to develop in a way that I automatically develop that skill. So that can happen. On the other side of things, once biotechnology develops to the point where we might solve the problem of aging, we might be able to live a lot longer. We might be able to deploy extremely minuscule characters which like are bionically engineered, like Pavitra said, in our body to fight diseases like, say, coronavirus, which automatically detects this is that and that is that. And that goes in our bloodstream and completely changes how we see. I think the only language that will be there on Earth is English, which I think is also very important. Like in hindsight, as disrespectful as that sounds, I think the one good thing that British colonization did was give the Earth a universal language. That is, 50 years from now, one can know only one language and they'll be able to communicate with everyone on Earth. That's pretty much it. I think a lot of the governmental enterprises that we see today will be completely free, in the sense that like there will be no need for education once we have a system so robust that we can like, it's as easy as downloading a torrent, learning something. So there will not be a need for such elaborate educational structures to be created. Social structures will be completely changed. I think face-to-face meetings will be unheard of, because now you can maybe program a robot to behave or to have the exact same body language as you, look exactly like you. There's no end to speculation, but I think that pretty much covers.
No, but two things even I feel confident about, which was mentioned by Ruchir, was genetic engineering, where we'll try to increase our immunity, and two is intergalactic colonization, and we are already in the process of it. It's not like this is going to be some 40,000 years from now, we are already way ahead in those terms. And it'd be not just interesting to see how humans evolve with this, but how humans start to differentiate with this. Because it's already been speculated that the people who live on Mars, they'll be way different than the people living on Earth in terms of everything. And one of the things which scare me is, you know, how we are already living in different countries and we have so much tension between us. It'd be very interesting to see, or sad to see, the planetary tensions which we will develop. Because we're already facing so much racism, right? So that'd be interesting to see how that happens. And we're also yet to see how genetic engineering favors, right? Because human selfishness is the biggest problem. Technology is a catalyst, but human selfishness is what can get in the way.
Yeah, like I think both of you really put it out there. Of this talk is, I think looking at evolution is fairly very skeptical. I think it's crazy to just think about stuff that are potentially going to be there. Looking at the baby steps that people are
faceless,
yeah?
blind.
What?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of what I said, like baseless, blind guessing, right? Like,
yeah, baseless blind guessing, but again, very hopeful baseless blind guessing. And I think there is some amount of fuel to it. So yeah, I don't want to see a world where I don't meet people. I genuinely do. But yeah, I think my grandchildren and like whoever, they will see it. But yeah, well with that. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think for the benefit of everyone who's going to watch this, we can share or we can just mention things that they can read from now on. Or like I just remember a few things. I'm pretty sure Ruchir already showed his one book about evolution. He did that. But apart from that, there are so much other things. Like if you go online, you will see so much. Like there are so many articles that are called the past, the present, and the future of human evolution. So you can go, like everyone go just check out that. And yeah, it's so much fun. I think also I remember demography in like demography, change of demography. There's a website. If I find it out, I'll share it with people. Like how demography has changed over the years because of certain aspects. They show it very beautifully in this graphic. So all these things are out there. I think they're all open source, free source, and yeah, it was very interesting to have this conversation with you guys. Thanks.
So I guess this is it. We should conclude now.
Yeah.
Tejus has something to say. Tejus.
Yeah, it was really great meeting you, seniors. It was like a very new thing to me, knowing your opinion. You are all like real seniors to me. And in this case, knowing your viewpoints on such a great thing was like really a great thing for me. It's like my first time I'm just doing this. I was really very afraid of like doing this for the very first time. But then, yeah, I felt really great and I was really enjoying this whole thing for 1 hour with you people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like, but one question, Tejus, what do you feel has been the event of evolution, like biggest tangent to evolution, biggest fueler?
This podcast.
Okay, so according to me, for me, a person like me, change is the only constant. Human beings cannot stay constant at a particular place or at a particular thing. We need to evolve. For each and everything, we just want things to get it in our way. We don't want to work. We just want to relax. All things come to us. So till the time we do not satisfy ourselves, we just keep evolving over time. So that's it. That's what I believe.
That's fair enough. That's actually right. Okay, thanks Tejus. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pavitra.
Bye-bye.
I don't have to thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good icebreaker between the quarantine. Thanks for organizing. See you guys.
Thanks for organizing. I think everyone is organizing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everyone.